5-second board goes up then, so the first 10 cars will go when the lights go out. The remaining cars will go on the Union flag. The red lights are on and they go out now, and it looks like a good start by the 4C of Mike Hilton. Then the Bianco prepared car is going to lead into Oulton corner for the first time from Paul Plant in second place, Tom Hill in third. The Union flag drops and the Twin Spark Cup cars get away. Barry McMahon was slow away from the main part of the grid. It's Andrew Bork that immediately moves into the lead of the Twin Spark Cup class, so he's doing what he needs to do there in the Twin Spark Cup class with the 156s and the 157s that went with the 2-litre engine. Nearly we lost 40% of the grid there because two of them made contact on the way out of Oulton corner, but they've got themselves sorted out, I think, and they dropped their way down through Cascades for the first time. That was the 41 car, amongst them of Giles Billingsley, who's dropped back 2 places already, then behind the race leader.
McMahon's already caught the group again after that slow start, and we've had a change for the lead because Paul Plant, who I think might be the boss of Bianco, has got himself up ahead of his teammate Mike Hilton there, and then Tom Hill is in third place. At Brands Hatch, when McMahon was in the Giulietta, Hill actually beat him, I think, so it'll be interesting to see if Tom Hill can get amongst them. There's Gabriele Iaccarino in the Alfa Romeo GT, a similar car to Hill. Hilton takes a different line because Tom Hill's gone past him. Is there a problem then for the 4C?
It looks like it might be, doesn't it?
Which is a shame because it went so well in qualifying this morning. There's Tom Hill, who's always spectacular in his GT as he goes up over the hill, the champion of the V6 class this year. There's Paul Plant. And the lights flashing away. There's Hill. There's 4C still going, and Mike Hilton is still there in third place. And Graham Seeger is fourth. And here's Barry McMahon, who didn't get away at all well. Perhaps there's some sort of clutch issue maybe. But he's up into fifth now. He's just got himself ahead of Mervyn Miller, who I think is making his first appearance this year.
He is.
In the 156.
So they come towards the end of the first lap then. There is Barry McMahon. Let's see how far up the order he can get. He's got ahead of Mervyn Miller then. Making his seasonal debut. A few drivers doing so actually. Mike Hilton being another one in the ex-Ricardo Lascelli 4C that we've been looking at, and also of course Paul Plant, also his first time out this season. This is the battle though within the Twin Spark Cup, and it is the battle for the lead between John Billingsley in the number 8 car and between Andrew Bork, the class champion, looking to secure the overall title. And he's under threat here from, I think, the only other driver to have won a race in that class this year.
Yeah, John Billingsley, he won at Brands Hatch at Festival Italia earlier in the season after 2 good battles between these two. And he was the one that was going round the outside of Giles Billingsley at the start when those two touched. But John Billingsley in the 147 is certainly putting the pressure on Andrew Bork here as they turn their way through. And they're catching the back of the first group. They're catching Dave Messenger, who hasn't had a very good start in his 156 GTA, who normally goes better than what he is currently, but there they go through Island Bend with Andrew Bork just about ahead as they turn their way up to Welsh Shell Oils, where they, as I say, have got Messenger and Andy Inman not that far ahead of them on the road at this stage of the race, but Bork is hanging on at this point. It's a slightly longer race than the earlier ones. It's a 20-minute race, and Billingsley's car bouncing about on the suspension as it goes through the chicane there at Britain. It's not far behind them either. It's Toby Broom, who's had a pretty nice season. He's had a number of third positions within that class, and here comes John Billingsley down the inside of Andrew Bork. He braked desperately late there into the chicane at his locks, and Andrew Bork lets him go through, which are probably quite wise because Billingsley looked pretty keen to win this, and he's gone through ahead. Yeah,
you sense that Bork wasn't going to try and defend that too hard given the situation. There is the 14 car, which is Andy Page, and he gets a move done on Gab Ziaccarino there. That's for 7th position, I think, overall. So number 14, Andy Page, and one of the older cars, probably the oldest car in the race, the Giulietta 116. He's got ahead of Iaccarino in another of the Alfa Romeo GT cars in the V6 class, so similar car, I guess, to that of Tom Hill. Barry McMahon, though, is up to third place now. He's done the best lap of the race, a 1:55.28. He's lapping a couple of seconds faster than Tom Hill and nearly a second faster than Paul Plant in the lead of the race as well.
He is 10 seconds behind the leader, so he's going to have to go a bit quicker than 1 second a lap if he's going to win this. He was never beaten last year, was he, when he raced? Funnily enough, the one meeting he didn't do last year was here at Oulton Park, so perhaps trying to make it a full season over 2 years, as it were. A change there for ninth as Dave Messenger goes past the similar car of Andy Inman, and he now will try and join in that battle between Andy Page and Iaccarino just ahead for 7th and 8th positions on lap 3. There's Andy Inman, a number of the Revs Italia prepared cars that are in this championship this weekend. There's Billingsley, Bork, then Giles Billingsley and Toby Broome. Adrian Norman struggling to keep up with them. He's the 5th of the Twin Spark Cup cars, the former Mini Challenge racer who made his debut at Brands Hatch a couple of months ago.
Good to see that little battle going on between the two V6 cars of Inman and Messenger, both long-time racers in this championship. But here is the four-way battle, and the first 4 cars are all together, aren't they, in the Twin Spark Cup, with John Billingsley ahead of Andrew Bork and Giles Billingsley and Toby Broome, who had a 28-year layoff from racing. He raced an Alfa 33 in Class F, as it was, of the Alfa Championship back in the mid-1990s, but then had a long break before coming back this season in this Bianco hire car that he's racing this season, and he's had some decent results, as Josh has been saying, and he's right on the pace here because these 4 Twin Spark Cup cars are right together, and this is very often what we see within the Twin Spark Cup. The battles very close indeed. It was a good introduction, this quite a few years ago now that this class was introduced, for 156s and 147s running the same engine setup, very much a budget way into Alfa Romeo racing, and good action it delivers as well. The first 4 cars still headed by John Billingsley as they come out of Lodge Corner up to complete their 3rd lap of the race. Meanwhile, leading the race still is Paul Plant, but Barry McMahon's got that gap down to less than 8 seconds now in 3rd position, so we do need to keep an eye on what he's doing. He's only 1.5 seconds now behind Tom Hill as well, but for the moment we'll continue to watch this battle in the Twin Spark Cup. Josh?
Yeah, Barry McMahon, we said needed to go a bit quicker, and he went a couple of seconds quicker on that last lap, so he is picking up the challenge. But going back to that Twin Spark Cup class, we even had an Alfa Romeo 145 out at Brands Hatch, which was driven by the very experienced Will Arif.
Yes.
On that occasion, which was good to see one of the older cars into the Twin Spark Cup. There's Graham Seagold, a good start to the season, where at Silverstone he took the battle to Tom Hill, but I don't think he's really done that since. In his car, the Alfa Romeo 147 GTA, he's there in 5th position. As Andrew Bork might lose another place here because Giles Billingsley, the Sometimes Sports 2000 racer, is putting the pressure on now as well. This is a great battle. There might only be 5 cars in the Twin Spark Cup, but 4 of them are battling for the lead of the race, which is a pretty impressive ratio there as they come over hilltop. So John Billingsley's not getting away here. And then you've got the rest of them behind. Just watching across the line, Barry McMahon's now 2nd. He's got himself up ahead of Tom Hill in the overall order, and his chase gap is 7 seconds with at least 6 laps to go. We might even get 11 laps into this, which will mean we get 7 more laps because these cars under 2 minutes. These are the quickest cars we've seen so far today at Oulton Park.
Yeah, so we need to keep an eye on what's going to go on between the leaders, but Tom Hill of course still leads the V6 class, on Graham Seager in 2nd and Gabs Iaccarino in 3rd position within this class. Here's the battle for the lead of the Twin Spark Cup though, and Andrew Bork is, well, I thought he was going to get alongside there, but again it looks like John Billingsley tried to brake quite late, and indeed did brake quite late for Lodge Corner and held on to the lead of the race. You would think that Andrew Bork's priority here would be keeping his nose clean, just to make sure he brings this car home and doesn't end up in the barriers or something like that with a broken car for the 2nd race.
There's a tyre mark down the side of the car. I don't know if that's from this race or not, but it suggests that it probably was, which means he's got involved in the battles. So they turn down into Cascades. Billingsley's car certainly moves around a lot more, doesn't it? Perhaps a bit more softer sprung, the 147. Compared to the 156s that are in the chase pack in this group. and these cars go about a second slower than what we saw Andrew Bork do, I think, here last year. So battled further up between a couple of different cars. The oldest car on the grid, Andy Page, in the earlier Alfa Romeo Giulietta, and then the Alfa Romeo GT of Gabriele Iaccarino. He's been racing in this car for a couple or 3 seasons now. Andy Page has been racing his car for a long, long time. There's been that change in the Twin Spark Cup for second place, because now it's a Billingsley 1-2, as Giles has got himself up ahead of Andrew Bork, and now he's challenging John as they go over the hill there and down towards the Hislop corner, and Andrew Bork fighting back. He's on the inside line here of Giles Billingsley. He brakes as late as he dares, but he's almost on the Foster's circuit there. He's so far across the road, which means he wasn't on the ideal line really, and therefore he had to back out of it. And Toby Broom is trying to get involved in this, but now the pole man in that group, Giles Billingsley's into second. He's really starting to put the pressure on to John Billingsley, who was quick on lap 1. He was the one that gained positions early on, but now Giles looks the quicker driver.
Yep, halfway through this race now, 9.5 minutes of it left to go. It's still number 20, Paul Plant, that leads, but the gap now down to only 6.37 seconds over number 57, Barry McMahon in second. 75, Tom Hill is third, and 70, Mike Hilton is fourth in the 4C. We'll continue on our stream though to focus on the battle in the Twin Spark Cup, because this is where the closest of the action is, and it's the two Billingsleys out in front at the moment. From Andrew Bork now back down to third place in the number 86 car, and Toby Broom in fourth place in number 33. But you could really throw a blanket over all 4 of these cars together. They're just on the way out of Old Hall Corner now, dropping down towards the right hand kink, and then the left hander at Cascades at the bottom of the hill, and they will be making their way down to Island Bend. At the start of this lap there was only 1.4 seconds separating those 4 cars, with Andrew Norman a bit further back.
Mike Hilton starting to speed up in the 4C as well. He's now lapping as quick as the leader, Paul Plant, as he gets perhaps a bit more used to that car in race conditions. But that Twin Spark Cup leaders, was there a touch there between the Billingsleys? They seem to be closer than they might wanted to have been at that point, but it's still John ahead of Giles as Barry McMahon sets another fastest lap of the race. He's now less than 4 seconds behind Paul Plant, with possibly 5 laps to go still, so I think Barry McMahon could come through to win this yet on the overall battle. But for the Twin Spark Cup, the 4 of them head downhill into Hislop, where John Billingsley's braked extremely late. I think he stayed on the track there. I was questioning that, and we had a car off at Druid, which is Mervyn Miller making his season debut, and he's 1.56. He's no longer in the gravel, which means I think he's going to be able to get back going. And behind, or what was behind him, Iaccarino now ahead of Page. That'll be 6th in the end.
And he's going to fall to the back of the sort of front group, isn't he? Because that's Andy Inman getting past him there. And then you've got the Twin Spark Cup cars hoving into view. Out of Druids they come. The Billingsleys, John and Giles, first and second. And Andrew Bork is third. Toby Broom is fourth. It almost looked like Bork there was trying to defend third place from Broom as they came into Lodge Corner that time. This is to complete lap number 6 in their case. They come up and over the line again and into Old Hall Corner. Giles Billingsley in number 41 having a look around the outside of John Billingsley in the number 8 car. He runs wide on the exit of the corner. Now does that allow Andrew Bork to get back alongside? He's got 2 wheels on the grass down the avenue, and Andrew Bork therefore has gone back through to get second place. Will Billingsley try and get back through on the inside at Cascades? It's very, very close between the 2 of them, and Toby Broom trying to buy into this as well now. They're side by side as they head down the straight past the lake towards Island Bend. Who is going to emerge in front of those 2? Well, they are still together, and it looks like it's going to be Giles Billingsley, and Toby Broom is going to get through as well. They're on the inside, I think, to take third place within the Twin Spark Cup class. Let's just get confirmation of that as they go through. No, he couldn't quite make it work, so it is still Andrew Bork that holds on to third place within that class, but that was an exciting few corners, Josh.
The overall lead gap is now just 1 second between Paul Plant and Barry McMahon, so there might be a change for the overall leaders. It's difficult to know what to follow here, because we've got this incredible battle in the Twin Spark Cup, just like we did here at Oulton Park 12 months ago, and we've got a battle for the lead of the race as well. But it's still Billingsley's plural that head the way in the Twin Spark class as they get quite close to the back of Mervyn Miller. But let's take a look at the battle for the lead of the race, because Paul Plant in the Juliet, the car that Barry McMahon raced 2 months ago at Brands Hatch, leads the way, hops over the curves in pure touring car style there into Britain chicane. But Barry McMahon, I think, might have a bit more power. He's drawing up alongside as they go over Hilltop and come down the hill in towards Hislops. And I think Barry McMahon might go through here, Ian.
Yeah, he does, and it looks like he has done. Just wondered if he might outbrake himself there through the corners. I think the Giulietta's possibly a little bit more mobile. But it looks like Barry McMahon has used his power down towards Hislops to get through, and he's starting to pull away already as they climb up Clay Hill towards Druids for the 8th time in this race. So Barry McMahon, I mean, we were a bit worried about him in qualifying. He was pooting around, but possibly he was just mindful of perhaps didn't have the right tyres on for what were still very damp and tricky conditions at that point in time, and wanted to make sure he could save the car for the race. He took it very easy at the start of the race as well. We saw so possibly some kind of clutch issue getting the car off the line, but he knew clearly that he'd got the car underneath him to be able to get through the pack and get into the lead of the race ahead of Paul Plant with about 4.5 minutes of the race left to go. Now this is for 7. This is Andy Page in the older Giulietta, the number 14 car, the 116, and 79 just behind him is Dave Messenger. 2 different classes, Page in the modified class, Messenger in the V6s.
Yeah, that's right. One thing Barry McMahon hasn't been able to do is set a new lap record. He's about 2.5 seconds away from Tim Lewis, which I think would have been set quite a long time ago. But that's nothing for him to worry too much about, I doubt. Here come the Twin Spark Cup car. Well, this battle doesn't end, does it? The 4 of them are still absolutely together. So 80% of the class together on the track still, and possibly not the type of race Andrew Bork wanted to win the champion or to keep himself in the championship lead, because it would have been easier if there weren't lots of cars around him. But probably enjoying the battle, I would have thought. And for John Billingsley, he's ahead then of Giles Billingsley, and then it's Andrew Bork 3rd and Toby Broom in 4th place as they go up and over Clay Hill and back towards the end of the lap, where John Billingsley, the leader, was very wide there into Druids, and he's stayed on the tarmac, but I don't think he's got much momentum as they come off of the corner. So can the poleman Giles Billingsley find a way through? He can. He's got more momentum on the outside line. So it was just a little bit wide there into Druids for John. He found the damp patches, he slid a bit wide, and he's lost the lead of the class there, Ian, with 2 laps to go. The
only damp patches on the circuit now, we think, as well, up there at Druids, so it's done well to find them. But anyway, it's Giles Billingsley, John Billingsley, Andrew Bork and Toby Broom. They are still together. John Billingsley having another look back at the inside in the number 8 car as they went into Oulton corner this time. Nearly all of them go wide. I think the only one that didn't go a little bit wide there was Andrew Bork, the 3rd place car, and the man contending for the overall championship. Tom Hill, by the way, still leading the V6 class, 3rd overall as well, so doing everything he can to take the championship to the final round. But here you've got Giles Billingsley and John Billingsley absolutely together as they head into Ireland. They're not that far behind the likes of Andy Inman and Mervyn Miller in more powerful cars up the road. I don't think they'll catch them though before the end of the race. There's Mervyn Miller's car you could just see going through. There's Andy Inman, and these are the 4 cars contending for the Twin Spark Cup honours here, still headed by that green number 41 156 of Giles Billingsley.
And John Billingsley almost got into his tail there as the car got a bit lurid into the chicane. You talked about Tom Hill. He's been caught now by Mike Hilton in the 4C. Okay, they're in different classes, but a top 3 position under threat for Tom Hill, something that he's managed on 8 occasions this year. He's had that 1 overall win, 6 second places, a 3rd and a 4th over his finishes this season. But there is Giles Billingsley still leading the Twin Spark Cup, trying to be the 2nd driver to beat Andrew Bork this year, and it was John who managed that at Brands a couple of months ago. Not sure if that battle might get lapped or not by the overall leaders. Meanwhile, there's battles through the field, Ian.
Yeah, this is for 6th place, and that's Andy Page going around the outside of Gabs Iaccarino there, and he gets 6th place overall away. That's not for class position, but it is for overall spot, and also involved in that is Dave Messenger in the number 79 car, and he's got ahead of Iaccarino as well. So Iaccarino's lost 2 places there in the space of 2 corners, and for Messenger, that is for class position as well. So he's dropped out of the top 3 within the V6 class.
The overall leaders have got to lap this Twin Spark Cup battle on the last lap, and Paul Plant's caught Barry McMahon again. So if McMahon's a little bit cautious through the traffic on the final lap of the race, Paul Plant could do something about it yet, and it's very hectic in that battle ahead of them.
Yep, so down towards Cascades they go for all of these. This will be the final lap, because I don't doubt that Barry McMahon or Paul Plant will get ahead of all of these 4 cars before the end. They've got so much more power, but the danger, it might split up the Twin Spark Cup battle, which is a great shame. So they're heading off down to Island Bend, and there they are now, and it looks like McMahon has cleared most of them, but not Giles Billingsley. And also involved there is Andy Inman as well, who's also being lapped in yet another different class. He's in the V6 class. There, past Giles Billingsley has now gone the top 2, but those 2 are still together, and they now need to try and get past Andy Inman as well, Josh.
Yeah, who should have a bit more power, and Paul Plant trying to drag alongside Barry McMahon, who's had to sort of hop over the grass, hasn't he, to lap Inman, which he just about managed. So I think McMahon should be able to hang on, but that last lap probably wasn't as easy as he was expecting. The lead in the Twin Spark Cup cars behind these are side by side, because John Billingsley went down the inside of Giles Billingsley. Not quite sure the outcome of that, but it was a big dive up the inside from John to try and get past Giles. Not sure if we can hang on with this shot to see what's going on behind. And it's Giles who's held on, but only just, I think, in all of that.
Okay, so this is the final few corners now. Barry McMahon it was who started this race in 10th position. He has come through with about 5 minutes to go. He took the lead of the race away from Paul Plant. Bit of a scare there in the traffic on the final lap, but he is going to come through to take his first win of the season in the HITEK Electronic Materials Alfa Romeo Championship. 4th different winner we have had in the Alphas this year. So Barry McMahon it is that takes the checkered flag from Paul Plant in 2nd place, but a good race between the 2 of them. And then about 18 seconds back it will be Tom Hill. But we've had our Twin Spark Cup cars through as well. So Giles Billingsley it is that takes that particular class win from John Billingsley, and Andrew Bork 3rd. He gets a finish under his belt, and that's really pretty much all he needed. But it will go down to the final round of the championship between himself and Tom Hill now, who has won his class. This battle still to be decided down at Britain's. So this is for 6th, 7th and 8th place. 6th is the 14 Giulietta of Andy Page. 7th is the 79 156 GTA of Dave Messenger. And 8th is the GT of number 97 Gabriele Iaccarino. So they are just coming down into his lops now. And you can see them making their way towards Knickerbrook. I'm not sure that we're going to see a change in the positions between them. In the meantime, Graham Seeger has come through to take 5th position in car number 5, and then there's another lap car there. That's Adrian Norman just going through in the number 54 car. So all 15 cars look like they've made it to the. All 15 cars look like they've made it to the checkered flag, Josh.